Hey guys, it's Vince. Today I want to discuss protecting your CNC investment. In this video, I'm really looking for my novices out there who are looking at getting started in CNC machining and purchasing their pro-grade equipment and wanting to do it right the first time. What you see here is a complete nightmare. I'm going to cover this situation. I deal with these kind of situations all the time. I do run eDealers Direct on eBay. That's my eBay store. And I get clients that, or in this case, potential client that messages me and asks me one simple question: can you fix my CNC controller? Well, guys, let's just peruse some of these pictures that he was nice enough to send. And you can see what I'm dealing with. Okay? This is a complete sham job, and I'm going to cover why in explicit detail. Okay, what you see here are Gecko's professional series drivers. They're Gecko G203s. Okay, these drivers typically can go up to 80 volts in voltage, and therefore they are extremely fast. But by the same token, the double-edged sword on that is the fact they generate an immense amount of heat. It states in Gecko's user's manual that it's mandatory these drives have heat sinks attached. Do you see that here? Exactly. This misconception of using a fan to blow over these drives is complete crap. And let me explain why. Open up your computer case. Take the time out of your day. Open up the computer case and look inside of it. And you're going to find a fan and a heat sink, because the heat sink, once again, expands the cooling surface area of the item you're trying to cool, which in turn would be the CPU. Well, think of your drivers as the same thing. They're CPUs. Just consider them to be a CPU. You'd want heat sinks to expand the surface area and utilize a fan for optimal cooling. Okay, that is the proper way it should be done. Now, this company claimed to be professional. Okay, I'm assuming that. They obviously made the box look like it's professional in the format in which they labeled it. If you look here, even on the inputs, you could see here XYZ, everything is labeled. They have it all stenciled. CNC 7 amp extra duty. It's humorous to me to see this, because when I look at that, and they're going through all the time to label the front and all that neat stuff, and then you look over here and look at this. Here's a switch. Right here, this terminal is bare. It's not even insulated. They didn't take the time to even put a piece of heat shrink on that. So God forbid a wire comes off, which of course they're using quick connects, which I never recommend to do, because there's nothing that beats soldering, because soldering is like welding. It just shows just shoddy workmanship. I mean, and when someone messages me something like, can you get my CNC controller working, I have to analyze the situation I'm in. And here's the situation. If I was to take this job on, I explained to this potential client that the only way I could get this controller to work and stand by the product is for me to rewire the entire thing. And why is that? Because I don't know what other work is hidden in here that may be contaminated that would poison me in the end. If I have to support someone else's work, I have to worry about everything that goes involved in my work, because once I take that responsibility on, it becomes my burden. Think of the same process if you're one of my advanced guys, okay, and you get someone that wanted the machining job done by one company and they did some of it, and then they asked you to finish the process. You then become inherently responsible for the whole project. It scares me. And I don't take on jobs like that unless I do it my way, and that's the right way. I'll start from the beginning. This way I know who did everything, and you know you're getting it done right. This is disgusting. This is a blatant disregard for any customer. I mean, this is beyond the realm of saying, hey, you know what, I made a mistake. I mean, you can see here the breakout board isn't even straight. I mean, it's frightening to me that companies like this have been around at all. But guys, I'm telling you, they're out there. There's a lot of companies like this. There's companies who will paint these boxes, make them look gorgeous on the outside. If you look at these, all these, you know, and this is the company that went out of business, this Logitrol. I've never even heard of them. He told me it was from a company in Australia. And again, it went out of business. We know that when that happens, this guy is now stuck. He has to hope someone is willing to take the gamble to work on this system, and hope there's, you know, he's willing to stand by someone else's work after he repairs it. Or what do? I mean, you're SOL. I mean, it just does not make sense. Take a step back, analyze the situation, do your due diligence before you spend your hard-earned money, and I'm talking thousands here. Systems are not cheap. They are not toys when you're buying a pro-grade machine. It is not a toy. Okay, it may be smaller in stature than the full-scale knee mills, but it is still not a toy. So keep that into consideration. When I see stuff like this, it just pisses me off because I'm a professional in what I do. I try to be fair in what I charge, but my time is just as valuable as yours. And when I see stuff like this that not only is done shoddily, but done dangerously, I mean, this is just sheer danger right there. That's just disregard for anyone's well-being. I mean, the guy did not even take the time to label the drives with hell, say a piece of vinyl. I mean, do it right. If you're going to do it right. And I cannot emphasize that enough. You're going to do this one time usually. And if you're not doing it one time, the thing to consider is this. If you're looking at, I get guys that'll sometimes tell me, hey, I'm going to buy a machine today and I'm going to upgrade my machine later on and then I'll use this or sell this with it. Think of what you're doing. If you take the time and you're building it right or you're buying it right, you want it to be done right so it doesn't give you problems, so that you know exactly what's going on. Do you think in any recourse of the word that this guy could figure out what's going on here with these wires? I mean, you'd have to strip this entire system down. I mean, even if the drives are vertical, by the time you go in there and try to maneuver everything, it's just a mess. It's just a complete mess and a disregard for anybody but the manufacturer making money. And that's what I'm telling you guys to be careful of. This could have been totally avoided had this person decided to message them and say, hey, you know what? On the enclosure, could you take off the lid and let me see your work inside there? He probably would have stopped them as soon as he seen this had he done any research on these drives and actually took the time to read Gecko's user manual on the drive. It clearly states a heatsink is to be used. It clearly states it. Odds are one or all of these drives are shot. Look at the confined space that this is in. Each one of these drives can easily go over 200 degrees. Okay, I'm assuming this is the power supply. I don't know what this is. I see loose wires back here. I mean, this is a mess. This is a complete mess. Save yourself the headache. Save yourself the time and the money. Do it right. Go on Google, spend a day, spend 6 hours, whatever it takes, and get as much information as possible. Call the company you're interested in. Ask to speak to technicians. Ask to speak to as many technicians as is required to build chassis. A lot of these companies like to switch their work around. They like to have one guy do this function. He may be doing the labeling on the box, and then another guy is actually wiring the box, and then it's all crap, You want to talk to the guy who's handling your enclosure, the guy who's fabricating your system, so you know you're going to get the support you need. Is this the only gentleman that's supporting your enclosure? Okay, you don't want to speak to Marcy, the desk girl, who didn't touch your box. You want to speak to the guy who understands the equipment, right? Right. So if you ask for support, you're not sitting there, twiddling your thumbs. This is all logic, but unfortunately in this industry, it's not a common practice. And anyone who's in this industry knows what I'm saying to be true. It's not. The bigger the company is, you're always going to have the middlemen that go in between before you get to the guy that actually did the work. This is just a poor example of anything to be released on a professional level. This is frightening. So I hope you guys watch this, and I hope you've learned something. And once again, I would recommend any company you're interested in as actually purchasing from, take your time, call them, write down everybody's name you speak to, get as much information in detail on what their builds consist of, what drivers you're using, what breakout boards you're using. You want to be familiar with as many components as possible. You want to understand the company. You can even search under the Better Business Bureau. A lot of these companies have gorgeous websites, and what's interesting, they have these gorgeous websites and they're closed within 2 or 3 months. It tells you something. These are not business people. These are people that simply had an idea. They got 2 buddies together and then they threw their Kickstarter online, and then they get funded, and all of a sudden they fail. Do you know why they fail? It's because they don't understand business, and business starts with support. It's not about selling the product. It's about understanding that I already know what they don't, and the fact is the fact that you're dealing with support issues with these. And why is that? Because not everybody understands what they should when they're trying to take on professional level work like fabricating a CNC controller. You have to understand all of the ins and outs. This is not a hobby. It's not something that you do and say, hey, I'll get by with this and sell these. This person could have bought this and this started a fire in his house, and then what? I mean, you're dealing with serious stuff here. You're dealing with serious voltages. You're dealing with a lot of serious things that can happen, and people can get hurt. There's fires that can start. It's serious stuff. So please take your time, do it right. Ask as many questions as you have to any vendor. If it's not me, you speak to somebody. You deserve to be taken care of the right way, and that starts with the support. So please understand that. Do your best, do your due diligence, and if you guys do have any questions, don't be afraid to message me. Take care.